Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Retirement Planners of America podcast. I hope this finds you healthy, wealthy, and wise. I am Ken Moraith, the founder and CEO of Retirement Planners of America. And in these podcasts, we try to have more fun than a human being should be allowed to have when talking about all this boring financial stuff, and in this case, the bad news regarding Social Security. So we're going to go through with you what the bad news is, because there's a little bit of it. But then most importantly, as we always do, we're going to talk about what should you do strategically given the bad news, okay? So we are planners, not, panic inducers.
Retirement Planners of America, RPOA.com.
So I'm going to bring my co-host here, Jeremy. Jeremy, good to see you. You're looking very dapper. Look at you.
I appreciate that. It's good to be here. I love your tie.
You do? Okay,
Yes.
Thank you. I don't have a comment about that. I'll just say thank you.
Indeed. Okay, Social Security, bad news. What happened?
Well, the Social Security Trustees came out, and they're looking at, when does Social Security, when will it be unable to pay the benefits as promised?
Okay.
And they revised it, okay, because they said that it was going to go for a longer period than it actually. But they just came out and said that Social Security is going to experience financial difficulties in 2035.
Oh, wow.
So that's a hop, skip, and a jump from here.
Yeah.
So that's very concerning.
Yeah. And this isn't the first time the Social Security has kind of run into an issue where their math isn't working out as they wish, I'll say. So in April 1982, Social Security Administration came out and they did a report, and they said they would be unable to make benefit payments no later than July 1983, which is an even shorter time period for their prediction. And they made some changes, and they said, okay, we're solvent again. We're good to go. The math works out. What changes are they planning to make this time?
Well, yeah, so the takeaway from what you just said is that their projections have been really bad. Okay, so they're constantly changing these projections, and it seems like they don't change them for the better. They always seem to change them for the worse, which implies that they tend to be overly optimistic when they're talking about, how long Social Security is going to last and all that good stuff. So the problem we're having today is that Social Security has been taking in less money than it's been paying out since 2021.
Wow.
Okay, so it's been here for a while. And so what they're actually doing to make up the difference is they're tapping into the Social Security Trust Fund.
Okay.
And so they're draining the tub on the trust fund to keep the benefits where they're supposed to be. But the challenge that they're facing is that we have 10,000 people turning 65 every single day in this country. And that's going to go on for potentially another 10 years.
Yeah.
So you think about how many people that is that are now going on Social Security. And so therefore, by 2035, the trust fund's going to be depleted and we're going to be in trouble.
Okay, so if I were a homeowner and I tell the bank, listen, I don't have any money right now, but my uncle's, he's going to spot me for a couple of months. Well, my uncle's not a wealthy guy either, and he has his own bills to pay. So I feel like the Social Security is like in that same kind of deal. And, in 1982, they made a bunch of changes, and they were able to kind of correct course to get those payments out. Are they going to be able to still pay out the same amount as they have been? Are we going to see a loss of benefits?
Yeah, so this isn't the end of Social Security.
Okay.
This 2035 date is not saying that Social Security will go away.
Okay, that's good.
Basically, what they're saying is that they'll only be able to pay out 81% of the benefits that are currently being promised.
Okay.
And the reason why is because, Social Security is a pay-as-you-go system. It's not like we're putting money away for the future. Current workers, the money that's being taken out of our wages to put into Social Security are the ones that are being used to then transfer and pay to Social Security recipients. And the problem is that as America gets older, there are more people in the retirement age and fewer people in the working age. I'm envisioning a day when what will happen is that we'll be 1 for 1. In other words, there'll be one worker for one Social Security person, and basically they'll work all day, every day, and basically just drive over and hand the money. So, I mean, that's the trend we're on.
Yeah.
It's an exaggeration, but if that's the case, we should start thinking about how well we're going to treat that worker to make sure that they're getting me my Social Security. So that's the problem. That's the problem. We have a shrinking supply of workers that are paying into the system because it's not we're putting it in for the future. We're putting it in to cover today.
Yeah. And drop to 81%. That's, almost 20%. That is a sizable impact on anyone on Social Security currently.
Yes.
Not even to mention people that aren't on it. So what do you do if you're looking at this and let's say you're approaching that retirement age, you're approaching it? What do you do?
Yeah, well, we have to kind of think of it in the context of how do we respond to what the Social Security Administration is going to do to address this issue.
Yes.
Right? So there are several things that they could do to fix this problem. Okay. So the first one is that they could increase the income amount that is subject to Social Security tax.
Love that.
Okay, so you do?
Slight sarcasm.
Yours.
Yeah.
I was going to say, depending on who you are, you may like that or not. But so right now it caps out in the mid 170,000. So anything above that is not subject to Social Security taxes. They could increase that limit, and potentially I can envision a time when they'll say that Social Security tax will be subject to an unlimited amount of income.
Yeah.
So no matter how much income you make, you're going to pay the Social Security tax. But right now it's capped out. So that's kind of an easy politically easy way to address it because you're addressing the higher income people.
Yes, of
right?
course.
And so that's usually politically more palatable. The other thing they could do is raise the retirement age. It used to be 65, and it's gradually been going up. So right now, in 2026, they're going to raise it already to 67.
Okay.
And so that trend has already begun. People are familiar with the fact that they've been increasing the full retirement age, so they could increase that potentially to 70 or something, and then that would delay the payments being made out, and therefore extend how long the benefits could be paid. And then another thing they could do, which would be I don't know how politically acceptable that would be, but it would be pretty draconian.
Yeah.
But if we want to save the system, we have to look at everything. And that would be, they could say, anybody making over a certain income level, when they retired or whatever, you don't get any Social Security. Thank you for your for having contributed to the whole thing. We really appreciate your efforts and what you did, but you get nothing.
Yeah.
And they could make that subject to a means test. In other words, you're getting income from other sources, and if your income is high enough, you get no Social Security. So those are all kind of things that they could do to fix the system. So is it going to die in 2035? No.
Right.
But it's a short fuse to fix what, because politically, if people start seeing, 20% of the Social Security benefits go away, there are going to be a lot of people voted out of office for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a large, 10,000 people every day. That's a large voting block of people.
Yeah, and for our clients, the demographic that we work with, Social Security is a significant portion of their retirement income.
Yeah.
And so seeing a 20% reduction in that, it's impactful.
Yeah, and that will affect people currently on and getting Social Security payments. It'll just be like, hey, this is what we promised. We can't give it to you. Here's the drop. Change your life.
Yeah, this would affect both people.
Yeah.
People who are going to, if you were planning that you were going to get these benefits, and then now they tell you, well, guess what? We're not going to pay you that. Or people who are on Social Security currently, and they're going to say, well, guess what? I know you were supposed to get $1,700. Well, no, you're not.
Wow.
You're going to get $1,400 or something like that. And, so those kind of things is potentially what could happen.
Yeah.
Our view is, though, that, some combination of all of the above is likely. How it all plays out, the politics of the day will dictate.
Whatever Frankenstein monster they create to get it across the finish line.
Yes.
At least in 2035 anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we know what the government may or may not do, kind of the different plans that they're likely looking at, things like that. Is there anything that we can do as financial advisors and retirement planners to say, hey, this is what you need to do if you're on it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So depending on who you are, there are different ways to look at this. Okay. So our view is that if you are in a higher income bracket, the likelihood is that you're going to be the target of any reductions in benefits, or hopefully not, but maybe you're disqualified from getting any benefits at all, or whatever it may be. The likelihood is that, again, because it's politically expedient, the higher net worth, the higher income you have, the more likely that you're going to be the target. So that being the case, there's lots of discussions about when is the best time to take Social Security.
Yes.
And kind of the dates that people kind of gravitate around are when you're 62, when you're first eligible, it'll be 67 next year, and then 70.
Yes.
Right. Those are the three dates that kind of people focus on. And so there are a lot of mathematical reasons why you could justify saying I'm going to wait till I'm 70.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that, though, is that you're basing those calculations on the promised benefits that you're going to get if you wait till you're 70.
Right.
And if those don't materialize, then these, when do you break even if you start when you're 66 versus if you're 70 may never materialize, because you're assuming that when you turn 70, you're going to get that benefit. But what if you're going to get 50% of the benefit that you thought you were going to get? Now, all of a sudden, you'll never catch up.
Yeah, right.
So when we're talking with clients, we're always talking about, okay, what are in your mind, what are the probabilities that the benefits will not be there for you in the future? And therefore, would it make sense to take it while the getting's good?
Absolutely.
And the thing about it also that you have to think about is that Social Security, yes, you get paid more if you wait till you're 70 than if you start when you're 66 or 67, because of the cost of living increases that they give it, or the adjustments that they give it until you're 70. But what you also have to keep in mind is that Social Security will pay you the same dollar amount over your life expectancy. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the reason why they're going to pay you more when you're 70 than when you were 62 or 66 is because your life expectancy is shorter.
Right.
But the total dollars that they're calculating that they're going to pay you are the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So if you start 62, you're going to get a smaller amount for a longer period of time. You start 70, you get a larger amount for a longer period of time, shorter time if you're 70. But the net is, the way they're calculating it is based on your life expectancy, they're going to pay the same dollar amount.
Yeah.
So there's not necessarily this huge penalty if you take it early versus if you wait till later.
Yeah.
From that regard. So for clients who are in a higher net worth, higher income bracket, et cetera, it's not unusual for us to decide, let's take it now. Yeah. Even though the math says maybe waiting till 70 might be a better thing.
Right.
Now, the opposite is also true.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that if you are in a lower, if you're more dependent on your Social Security, then it may make sense, for you to start taking it now as well. But it depends on your income, it depends on your expenses, and those kind of things. So what we want to do is look at what is the probability that Social Security will be there for you.
Yes.
If you are more dependent on your Social Security, chances are you will be the beneficiary of whatever changes they make.
Yes.
If you're in a higher income or a higher net worth category, you probably will not be the beneficiary.
Yes.
You might be the benefactor.
Right. You're right.
In that situation.
Yes.
You're the one that's going to be donating to the cause. As
Forcibly.
It were.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. All right. So it's kind of a bad sandwich to have to eat.
Yeah. And, the other thing that we do is we do what's called a retirement cash flow plan. And so what we want to do when we're doing that is we want to look at all the sources of income you're going to have during your retirement. And Social Security is an important component of that. Mm-hmm. And so what we can do and what we do I think you say what we do. Okay. What we do is we can say, okay, well, what happens if Social Security is, less later?
Okay.
So we can build into our model in 2035, let's say, for example, that you do get 80% of your benefits at that time.
Right.
So now how long will your money last?
Yeah.
What does that do to how much your cost of living needs
Right.
to be to compensate for that? So the planning aspects of it are eminently surmountable, I'll say.
Yes.
It's not a situation where you need to panic. But again, if you plan ahead,
Right.
Then you can be ready for that.
Right.
And if you plan far enough ahead, then the compounding of money, which is, according to Einstein, the seventh wonder of the world or some version of that, can work in your favor.
Yes.
Right? And you can start planning ahead. So there are lots of ways to plan for this.
Right.
And our philosophy always is you plan for the worst and you hope for the best.
Absolutely.
You don't plan for the best and
Right.
hope the worst doesn't happen.
Yes. Yeah. And planning for something like that. This news just kind of came down very recently. How soon should someone bake this into their plans, talk to somebody, make adjustments, things like that? Because we don't know for sure what's going to happen quite yet. But I think it's a good idea to start talking about it.
Yeah. The moment that there is a change is the time when you should start talking about how to address that change.
Yeah.
So right now, they've announced it,
Yes.
right? 2035. They've given us a date.
Yes.
That's not that far away.
No, it's not.
And at some point, as you get older, you realize that time flies. You blink your eyes, and it's like, wow, the year's over already. The 5 years are gone. A decade's gone. So 2035 is a hop, skip, and a jump from here. And so starting to plan ahead for that is important. Now, what could happen is then we've planned for that. One of the things that we believe in is that if you do planning and you have a plan, that it gives you peace of mind.
Absolutely.
And one of the things, people say, "What do you do?" Well, I sell peace of mind. That's my product. If my clients can have peace of mind about their finances, then I've delivered my product.
Absolutely.
So the way we do that is we plan, right? And we say, okay, if this happens, this is how we're going to adjust to it. We have a plan. Now they feel, that sense of peace of mind. Now, they could come out in a year or something and say, okay, here are all the fixes that we're going to make.
Yes.
All right, fine. Now that we know that, now it's time to go back to the plan and say, okay,
Absolutely.
does our plan adapt for that? If
Yeah.
it doesn't, we need to adapt to it accordingly. So do you plan for something that you don't know is going to happen? No.
Yep.
You plan for something that you know is on the table,
Yep.
and you don't make assumptions that they're going to fix it or not. You assume that they're not, right? Assume the worst. Plan
Yeah.
for the worst.
Right.
So right now the plan would need to address, benefits would be cut. But if they come out 6 months from now and say, or a year from now, that they're going to do something about it, then you adjust your plan accordingly.
Absolutely.
So, I've used this example before because I like it. And that is the difference between a bow and arrow and a heat-seeking missile.
Right.
So a bow and arrow, when you're looking at your target and you're pulling the arrow back and you let go of that arrow, all the intelligence that arrow has is all the intelligence that it will have once you release it.
Yes.
Okay, so once you release it and it's heading for the target, a gust of wind could come along. Somebody moves the target, 2 feet to the right. The arrow doesn't know anything about that because all the information it has is at the point that you released it.
Right.
And so it'll keep going, and if the wind blows it off course, it's going to miss. A heat-seeking missile, on the other hand, it follows the heat
Yeah.
and changes as the heat is moving, and it finds its target is the goal. And so that's what planning is. It's a heat-seeking missile. We know what the ultimate goal is. We want your money to last as long as you do.
Yes.
Right? We want you to have peace of mind about that. So the plan needs to constantly adjust to all the things that are going to happen. And by the way, Social Security is not the only thing that's going to change between now and the rest of your life.
What? You telling me that I can't just plan out the rest of my life now?
No, you can't. I'm sorry to break it to you. Yeah,
That's rough.
You're gonna have grandchildren, God willing. You're gonna, all kinds of things are gonna happen. You're gonna change jobs. You're gonna retire. Your health may change. There's a million things that could happen
Absolutely.
in the future. And so that's where planning comes in, and that's
Yeah.
why you need to keep your plan up to date.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think that's basically the things. Certainly seeking out somebody that understands Social Security, that is trained in that area, I think is extremely important.
Absolutely.
And of course, that's what we do, so that was a little plug. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching our podcast. As I mentioned at the top, I hope it found you healthy, wealthy, and wise. And also, please like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot, but it also helps you because that way you can never miss one of our episodes. You don't want to do that. And so, thank you for watching, and we'll talk soon.
Retirement Planners of America.